Hello, child of God. Once again, this is CPA Shadrach Adino, an expert on wealth creation and management. I'm also a practicing auditor and a financial management consultant. Above all, I'm a born-again child of God, and I'm also a pastor. I want to welcome you to today's episode. Last time, we dealt with employment and how to create wealth when you're employed. Today we are going to handle step number 3 on our journey of wealth creation and management. This one is called save. We are going to encourage you, child of God, to embrace the practice of saving when you are making an earning. We will conclude this episode by guiding you on where you can make your saving. Therefore, stay tuned to the end of this episode. Now, let me begin by saying savings is a revelation that God gave Joseph in Egypt. In fact, if you have your Bible, in the book of Genesis chapter 41, if you read it in total, you'll see the story how Pharaoh had 2 dreams in one night. The first dream about the fat and the lean cows. The second dream was about the fat and the lean corns. The lean corns coming later on to swallow the fat corns, and then the lean cows coming later on to swallow the fat cows. That is when Pharaoh called for people who could interpret the dream, Joseph happened to be one of them, and actually it is Joseph that interpreted the dream correctly. The others could not. And in Joseph's interpretation, we learn that in life there will always be times of abundance and times of scarcity. And that is how Joseph discovered that during times of abundance, somebody is supposed to make a savings of about 1/5. Actually, in terms of percentage, 1/5 is equivalent to 20%. I want to ask you to be very cautious with earnings whenever you make earnings. Whenever you have a salary, whenever you have an income, manage that income cautiously. Again, I repeat, there will be times of abundance and there will also be times of scarcity. There will be lean times. Therefore, whenever you get any kind of income, do not eat everything. Do not eat everything. At least set aside some fraction and save. You will need that fraction that you save when lean times come. Therefore, let us see how to manage your income. I want to guide you on how to manage your income so that you can be able to save properly. Point number 1 on income management: give a tithe. Whenever you get income, child of God, my friend, give a tithe. I will not take a lot of time to explain tithing, but I emphasize that the first thing you should do with your income is to set aside at least 10% and give to your church as tithe. And I mean give to your tithe, to your church as a tithe. Now, I only give 3 reasons why it is important. When you give a tithe, that is in a way partnering with God. You are partnering with God in your income. Number 2, whenever you give that tithe, your income will be increased. The increase of your income is guaranteed. Number 3, every time you give a tithe, you are telling God to rebuke the devourer. Those who come to destroy our income are rebuked whenever we tithe. Point number 2 on how to manage your income. I'm explaining this so that I can guide you on how to successfully save. Point number 2, save for business. That income that you are receiving, set aside at least 10% and save for business. While you're employed, you're getting whatever income, whether you are from Juakali or you are from a formal employment. Please set aside 10% of that income for your business. You will get that money sometimes after a number of years, and it will be useful for you to start your business. Point number 3, also save for emergency. Save 10% at least for emergency. This is very important. There will always be times of emergency in life. We cannot say there will be no emergency. In life, there will always be what? Emergencies. Nobody is emergency proof. Certain times, sudden sicknesses come when we are not ready for it. Sometimes death also come when we are not ready for it. Sometimes accidents happen when we are not ready for them. There are all sorts of emergencies that we need to be prepared for. In order not to knock on many doors when you have emergency, in order not to make so many phone calls when you have emergency, I want to advise you, save at least 10% for emergency. That one will give you a peace of mind whenever emergency comes. And I want to advise you, if emergency does not come, then invest that money. Emergency sometimes may come or they may not come, but if they don't come, invest that money. But at least as a forward-thinking person, save for emergency. For example, we know God blesses us differently. Sometimes you might find that God has blessed you with a child. After 9 months, God brings a visitor home. I want to believe that a visitor should not be considered as an emergency. A visitor should be planned for. But if a visitor comes suddenly in form of a child, please use that savings to cater for the bills of bringing back or welcoming home the visitor. Therefore, once again, save for emergency. I want to give point number 4. Whenever you receive income, please set aside at least 10% to give to the needy. Let us look at the wise counsel of King Solomon. King Solomon says, give freely and become more wealthy. In other words, when you freely give, you become more wealthy. We can take that from the book of Proverbs chapter 11. You can read verses 24 to 25. Give freely and become more wealthy. Solomon also advises us that when you help the poor, you are lending to the Lord. And when you lend to the Lord, He will pay you back with a lot of interest. Therefore, point number 4 on how to manage your income, please give to the needy at least 10%. Can I assure you, there is nobody that can outgive God. You give, God gives in abundance in return. Point number 5, spend the balance. Remember, you've received your income. I've advised that the first 10% give as tithe. The second 10% save for emergency. The third 10% save for the needy. Give to the needy. And the balance, we are saying spend the balance of 60%. Save the balance of 60%. Now, I want us to look very briefly and very quickly on 40 guidelines for successful savings. One of the things that has become very hard for workers is something called saving. This has become a nightmare. People would rather live on debts instead of saving. And it is very easy to hear people say that this money is too little for me. I cannot even be able to sustain my needs. It is not even enough for my basic needs. And then you are telling me to save. I want to tell you, dear listener, saving is key. There is no wealth creation where there is no saving. However little or however much you earn, save. You will get it after many days. That is what the wise man says. Therefore, today I want to give you tips on what you need to do to successfully save for the future business. Remember, if you eat it today, tomorrow you'll want it and you'll never receive it. Therefore, what are the guidelines for me to be able to succeed in saving? What are the guidelines for you to be successful in saving? Let's go together. If you want to succeed in saving, dear listener, do number 1 thing, automate your saving. I'm only giving 1 point on how to automate your saving. This is very important because there are so many people that when they get their salaries, the salary disappears immediately. In fact, even the very first week, the salary has disappeared. But if you want to succeed in saving, automate your salary. Automate your savings. This is what I mean by automating your savings. Talk to your employer and let your employer not take that money to the bank. Let your employer set aside 10% of your earnings and take it directly to your savings account. So that if you don't receive that money, the money goes to your savings account. The balance that goes to your account, your checking account, you can now withdraw it and spend it the way you like. But when the employer helps you in sending that portion direct to your savings account, you will not touch it. You'll be able to succeed in saving. Therefore, automate your saving. Point number 2, save any increase in salary or any increase in earnings or income. This is very important. Once in a while, our employers give us salary increments. The problem that we sometimes face, we people who work, or dear listener, if you are in employment, the problem that I've seen people do is that whenever there is a letter of salary increment coming at the end of the month, already he set aside a budget where that increase in income will go to. Please stop doing this. Continue living at that salary before you receive the increment. Therefore, let any increment that comes go straight to your savings account. Don't touch it. You will succeed in saving. Point number 3, automate some of your expenses. Automate some of your expenses. This is what I mean. You might be giving a standing instruction to the bank that this date of the month, let this fraction or this amount go to my landlord, let this amount go for school fees. And that is an instruction that you give to the bank to implement strictly. Every time you receive your income, it is now the bank that transfers that money to your expenditure area. But I'm saying consider cost-benefit analysis first. You consider cost-benefit analysis because probably if you make calculations, the cost of the bank transferring this money to that place of expenditure could be very costly. If you find it costly, don't do it. Because we are trying to devise ways of saving on your expenses. So if you find automating your expenses becomes very costly, stop doing it. Maybe you can talk to your employer and tell the employer to be sending the money to your major expenditure area, major service providers, or major creditors directly from the payroll. Point number 4, please budget and stick to it. Budget and stick to it. One of the things to do when you're budgeting is identify your sources of income. Probably your source of income is employment and you have another side hustle. So in the budgeting process, the first thing to do is identify your sources of income. Once you know how much you receive every month as your sources of income, number 2, plan your expenses. Understand what are your needs. Understand what are your wants. In other words, what are your basic expenditure items and what are your luxury expenditure items. Once you have identified those, then restrict your expenditure to 60% only. Restrict your expenditure to 60% only. Now, the most important thing about budgeting is that budgeting gives a guideline on how you are going to spend your money. It is very important that once you've succeeded in drawing a budget, please stick to it. Then you will succeed in saving. Point number 5, do not go to a market without a shopping list. Failure or drawing a shopping list is going to restrict your expenditure to the items that you've planned for. But going to the market without a shopping list means you are free to spend all the money that you have carried. And you will realize that you will spend your money on things that you don't even need for life. Therefore, use a guideline for shopping. Draw a shopping list when you're going to the market. Point number 6, check the expiry dates of items. Very important. The reason why you need to check the expiry date of items in the market is this. Some items that you buy in bulk may reach your house, and after 1 or 2 days, the items are spoiled. You'll be forced to throw away those spoiled items, yet you've spent money on them. Again, look for money, go back and buy the same commodities. That is not good in financial management. So if you want to avoid spoiled goods, check the expiry dates of items whenever you go to the supermarket. Point number 7, avoid impulse buying. Now, impulse buying is coming across something on the streets, and then suddenly at that time you think, this thing is good for me, let me buy it. You buy it, you've not even thought through it, you may not even be needing it at that time, but because you've come across it and it looks attractive in your eyes, you decide to buy it. That's not important. That's not good for financial savings. If you want to save, please avoid impulse buying. You'll be able to save your money. Point number 8, live within or below your means. Now, living within your means you are restricting yourself to spend only what you can afford. In other words, you know you have a salary of, say, 10,000 shillings. Remember earlier, I've given an advice that practice to live within 60% of your salary. Now here you are. You want to spend more than 60%. Or even let's say you want to spend more than 100%. For example, you are earning a salary of, say, 50,000 shillings per month. And you find yourself spending 60,000 shillings per month. It means you've exceeded your earnings with the whole 10,000 shillings. I want you to look at those expenses. You will realize that those extra expenses have been financed with a debt. Financing your expenditure by borrowing is very dangerous for wealth creation. Therefore, I encourage you, live within your means. Don't live beyond your means. In fact, the best advice I'm giving today is ensure that you live below. Living below your means simply means you are leaving some gap for savings. If you want to create wealth, live below your means. Point number 9, avoid bad debts. Avoid borrowing. Very key. Avoid bad debts. Avoid borrowing. Now, restrict your borrowing only to those items that will generate cash flow for you, large enough to repay the amount borrowed. Loans for very rare opportunities, highly discounted items. What I mean is this. If you have to borrow money, ensure that you are borrowing money for items that are highly discounted. Do not just borrow money. Avoid borrowing money. Be very slow on borrowing money. Number 10, please look for side hustles. You should not just be reliant on employment money alone. Find a way of doing such certain things by the sides. If you have a full-time job from 8 to 5, probably you might consider part-time jobs. These days, there are so many online jobs that you can do. You could be doing something over the weekend. You could be doing something that will help you generate money. Please don't rely on employment income alone. Also, create or look for some side hustles. You'll have additional income. Point number 11, if you want to save, my friend, please note this, do not impress. Many of us do things to impress their friends. Many of us do things to impress their peers. Many of us do things to impress their relatives. Please do not do things to impress. You could be spending a lot of money to impress people, but can I surprise you? They are not even appreciating you. They are not even getting impressed. Avoid impressing people. In fact, let me be very particular. Do not look rich. Be rich. Many people do things to appear as if they are rich, and yet the reality is that they are not rich. Do not look rich. Be rich. And if you want to be rich, do the things that we are talking to you about today. Now, I want to tell you, the things that you do to impress people, probably people are not even noticing them. So please stop impressing people. Live your own life. Don't even live your neighbor's life. Don't even live your colleague's life. Don't even live your peer's life. Live your own life. Point number 12. Do not live your peer's life. I think I've said that. I want to go to point number 13. Move to a house that you can afford. Move to a house that you can afford. Many people earning a salary, you find somebody paying 30% of his salary on rent. No, I want to discourage that. You did not get that employment to give all your money to the landlord. Please, move to a house that you can afford. My recommendation as an expert on wealth creation and management, endeavor to pay rent to the tune of 10% or 15% of your salary. Do not overspend your money on rent. Go to a house whose rent you can afford. And there are many houses of that kind, by the way. Because ask yourself, is there anybody getting a salary which is below my salary? And how is that person surviving? Therefore, you can adjust yourself to live even at a level equal to that person who is earning a salary lower than your salary. It is possible. So don't overspend money on house rent. Point number 14, compare prices before buying. You might be a customer in one supermarket, but let me tell you, probably in that supermarket, there is another supermarket with the prices below that supermarket that you're used to. Compare prices before buying. You could be saving money when you discover that there are low-priced items in other places. Point number 15, plan and prepare your meals at home. Plan and prepare your meals at home. That will save you on money that you take to the restaurants. When you buy raw materials, prepare your meal at home, you could be saving on money that you spend at the restaurant. Point number 16, do it yourself. Very important. Many of us like outsourcing services that we can even do on our own. Another example could be, you look for people to clean your clothes. Why can't you clean your clothes on your own instead of spending money to clean your clothes? Another example could be, you look for people to cook your food. Why can't you cook your food on your own? You look for people to clean your house. Why can't you clean your house on your own? I want to say you can be able to save money when you embrace doing certain activities on your own. For example, you can embrace subsistence farming, very healthy and cost savings. You can be having a garden next to your house. Just go to that shamba, plant certain fruits, plant tomatoes, plant vegetables. You'll be saving. Mow your own lawn, clean your houses and clothes, and even do your fitness at home. You'll be making a good saving. Point number 17, sell your unwanted stuff. In every house, if you look very keenly, my friend, you will find that there are certain commodities in your house that you no longer use. Such items should be sold and you'll be getting money to save. Point number 18, negotiate before buying. For example, you want to buy, maybe say, a video camera. You want to buy a motor vehicle. You want to buy certain furniture. There will always be marked price and there will always be buying price. If you hurry to buy based on marked price, you'll be losing money. I want to encourage you, dear listener. We are in the business of saving to create wealth. Don't just buy on seeing a price. Negotiate. I want to guide you. If you negotiate, you'll be saving on money. Point number 19, buy in bulk. Take advantage of quantity discounts. Buy things in bulk. You could decide to buy commodities from wholesalers instead of supermarkets. Let me tell you, the prices that you get when you buy things from wholesalers will always be lower than when you buy things from retail markets. If you want to save, I give you a secret. Buy your commodities in bulk and buy them from wholesalers. Number 20, take advantage of clearance sales. Take advantage of clearance sales. Once in a while or occasionally, you'll find certain shops advertising that we are selling to clear. We are selling to clear. Every time you notice that there is a clearance sale, I encourage you to take advantage of that. But there's a word of caution here. Go for those items only when you need them. If you find you do not need those items, don't buy because there is clearance sale. Go for clearance sales only when you need those items at that time. Number 21, buy in cash and not on credit. There are these things that are called credit cards. Did you know credit cards will create debt for you? Because it is called a credit card because they allow you to purchase and then you will pay them later on. Did you know there will always be credit card charges? If you want to avoid those unnecessary charges, as I call them, buy in cash. Buying in cash also means you are only buying when you have the money. You are not buying when you don't have money. So buy in cash and save on those charges. Buy in cash and save on debts that you accumulate by buying things on credit. Point number 22, buy in advance. Avoid last minute rush. Buying in advance is very important, my friend. Because when you buy in advance, usually there are discounts for paying in advance. For example, if you've been using aeroplane, charges for air tickets are normally lower when you buy tickets in advance. Compare it when you buy a ticket when you want to travel. The prices will always be totally different. So if you want to save on the cost of air ticketing, for example, buy the air tickets in advance. Back to school items. When you buy them when it is not a rush, you will find that the prices of the school stationery will always be lower than when it is in a rush. So buy items in advance and save on money. Point number 23, go for generics, not branded goods. I advise, if you want to know where prices go, it is in branded items. Do you know branded commodities also charge for their names? So many of us, we feel proud of buying branded items, yet we are buying a name instead of the commodity. For me, I would advise you, go for the utility in the commodity, not for the name. You buy a branded commodity, the utility is the same as buying a generic commodity. So if you want to save on money, go for generics, not branded items. Point number 24, please try this procedure of a 24-hour or a 30-day rule. Very important. Many of us, we buy things on first sight. This is very costly for us. If you do a careful analysis, the things that we buy on first sight, you will realize that we don't even need them. So I want to advise you, if you look at something that looks attractive, you come across it, don't buy it at that time. Please sleep over it. Think through it. Give it 24 hours. And in some cases, give it 30 days. You will realize that the item you wanted to buy at that time, later on you don't even need it. So adopt a 24-hour or a 30-day rule before you buy any commodity. You will be saving on money. Point number 25. Slash your subscriptions. Withdraw from dormant subscriptions and retain only those which you really need. Many of us subscribe. Sometimes we have clubs where we are members. Sometimes we have TV channels where we subscribe. Sometimes we have certain networks where we subscribe. Let me tell you this. Consider carefully all the subscriptions you make and ask yourself, do you really benefit from that subscription? Does it benefit you? You'll realize that only a few membership organizations help you. Slash on those that do not help you and retain only the subscriptions where you get benefit. You'll be saving on money. Point number 26. Buy to replace old items. Do not buy to add items. I want to give a very common example. We have television sets in our houses. Sometimes you may find somebody, you have a television set that is working. Then you are saying, I want to upgrade on the quality of television. You are seeing the same pictures, you are getting the same benefit from the same television, and yet you are adding another television. It is not good use of your money. We need to save and create wealth. You don't need to buy what you don't need. Therefore, my advice is buy items only to replace old items that you no longer use, not to add on to items. When something has become obsolete and is not useful to you, then buy something else to replace it. But don't buy to add onto what you already have. For example, you don't need 2 microwaves in a house, surely. You only need one microwave. And another one is, I don't know why somebody should buy 2 cars at a go. I'm the same person that drives the cars, and I'm buying 2 cars at a go. Did you know 1 car needs service, 1 car needs maintenance, 1 car needs insurance, 1 car needs everything to keep it running? Do you know you'll be paying for insurance for a car that you don't use? Please save on that money. Buy only one thing at a time, the thing that you need at that time. Point number 27, control on electricity and water usage. Some of our wastages come through careless use of electricity. You find that I have a number of rooms in my house, and the light is left on in a room that I'm not using at that time. Do you know you're wasting money on electricity bill? Therefore, to save on electricity costs, save or control on electricity usage. Another area is on water usage. The tap is left on. Do you know even the drops of water amounts to billing? If you want to save on electric and water usage, please ensure that water pipe, the piping of water system is accurate, there is no fault, the repairs are properly done, so that you spend money only on water that you use, you spend money only on electricity that you use. Let us control on electricity and water usage and save on our money. Point number 28, avoid food wastage. We spend a lot of money on food. It is very hurting for a person like me to find or to see somebody serving food that he will not eat all. Remember, there are thousands that are going hungry without food elsewhere in the world. Why should I serve what I don't need to eat? I advise all of us, my friend watching me, please let us avoid food wastage. Let us serve only the much that we can consume at that time, remembering that if we serve what is just enough for us, we will be saving on money that we spend on food, and we will be able to create wealth with that money. Point number 29, take good care of your delicate items. It is very painful to find somebody spending money on what you've already bought. I have bought a laptop, and because of not taking good care of my laptop, after 1 year, I'm forced to go back to the shop to buy the same laptop. My friend, let me ask you, are you not able to use that money that you're spending on the laptop on something constructive? Are you not able to save on that money to use it on business some years to come, instead of using money to buy what you've already bought? Let us take good care of our delicate items and therefore save money for our future business. Point number 13, maintain your property. Do not wait until they are beyond repair. Very important. We spend a lot of money in buying things which we can easily avoid. I want to give an example. If you don't take good care of your car, you will buy a new car. If you don't take good care of that house, you might be forced to build another house or to buy another house. Therefore, maintain your property and save on money that you could easily have spent on repeating the purchase. Maintain that property, and you'll find that money useful when you save it. Point number 31, walk or ride a bicycle whenever you can. This is good for your health. This is also good for your savings. Do not just drive to a place where you can walk to. Do not just drive to a place where you can take a bicycle and reach. Save on that money that you spend on fuel. Save on that money that you spend on taxi. Therefore, for the sake of your physical fitness and for the sake of your savings, I advise you, walk to that place and take a bicycle to that place and save on the money that you normally spend on fuel or the money that you normally spend on a taxi. Point number 32, stop addictive behavior. We spend a lot of money on addictive behaviors. Money that we can easily save and use for creating wealth. For example, smoking is very addictive and it's an area where people spend a lot of money. Please, let smoking be a no-go zone for you. Stop the habit of smoking. Drinking, very addictive. Yet that money is not beneficial to you. I advise you, stop drinking and save that money instead. Gambling, people like going for easy things. People have a tendency of believing that when they gamble, they will get free money. Let me be very clear. Gambling is not a source of clean money. Gambling is money consuming. Gambling is an indication that you do not want to work and get money. You want shortcuts. Please stop gambling and save that money. Point number 4, infidelity. Infidelity is also another area where people waste money. You spend money on behaviors that do not add value to you. You spend money on behaviors that are very destructive. I want to encourage you, stop infidelity and save on that money that you spend on infidelity. Those addictive behaviors, if you stop them, you will realize that you have been wasting a lot of money that could otherwise be used constructively elsewhere. Stop these addictive behaviors and save that money. You will need it after many days. Point number 33, pay your bills on time. If you want to save, pay your bills on time. You know, when we pay bills late, there are late payment charges that we are normally levied. Avoid these charges and pay your bills on time. You will be able to save on that money that companies have been charging you. Number 34, take care of yourself. Many of us are very careless about how we take care of ourselves. Please take care of yourself. Eat healthy food. Avoid junks. In Kenya, we have things that we call chips. We have things that we call fries. People like them. People enjoy them. But let me tell you, be very careful what you eat. It might cost you a lot in terms of hospital bills. Therefore, I want to say, take good care of yourself. Eat healthy food. Exercise regularly. And you will avoid spending money on hospital bills. Point number 35. Low or no spending challenge. Very important. You could decide that I'm taking this week of the month not to spend money on anything. If you've been spending money all the days throughout the month, you could test yourself. Am I able to live without spending money? I want to tell you it is possible. Try it and you'll see that you're saving money and use it for your business in future. Therefore, try and embark on low or no spending challenge. Take 1 week in a month and just decide that this 1 week I will not spend money. And you'll find yourself saving on the money that you'll be using for business in future. Point number 36. Review your insurance service providers. If you review your service providers that give you insurance covers, you will realize that you've been paying a lot of premium to one insurance company, yet there is another insurance company that could give you the same cover but at a low cost. I recently did that myself on matters of insurance of a motor vehicle. Previously, I took insurance without even shopping around for alternative service providers. But the next time I did insurance, I decided that let me compare prices across board. Some insurance companies were charging 4.75% for comprehensive cover. But when I went around on alternative service providers, I realized that I could get an insurance service provider that would charge me 3.5% on the same insurance cover. Therefore, my advice to your friend, review your insurance service providers once in a while, you will realize that you've been spending a lot of money that you could otherwise save. Take that advice and you'll save money. Number 37, review on your subscriptions. I think I've explained that. Number 38, do not just buy because you have ability to pay. Don't. Some people, once they have money, they land into a supermarket, and simply because that they have enough money, they decide to buy. Ability to pay should not be a justification for buying any commodity. I want to tell you, buy it because you need it, not because you can afford it. Justify why you are buying that thing. You may realize that you are buying that thing, but you don't need it at that time. Please, don't use ability to pay to justify buying. Buy only because you need it. You will save if you use that approach. Point number 39, be contented with what you have. Be contented with what you have. If you see your friend owning a property, don't desire to own a property because your friend is owning a property. You may not know the source of that person's income. Be contented with what you have. If what you have is only a 10 by 10 house, thank God for it. If what you have is only one suit, thank God for it. If what you have is only a motorbike, thank God for it. Be contented with what you have. Do not go for what you don't have. Wait for God's time. It will be sweet at that time. Point number 40, the last point. Be prayerful. On matters of savings, I advise you, be prayerful. The importance of being prayerful is it keeps you spiritually, physically, and financially prosperous. Very important for your life. It keeps away occurrences that unnecessarily eat away our earnings. Be prayerful. Those things that come to devour will be kept at bay. Now, finally, I want to take you to 4 places where you should save your money. I want to guide you on 4 places where you can put your savings money. Number 1, bank savings account. I advise, if you want to save your money as a result of today's teaching, try bank savings account. But I want to give you something that you need to be careful about before you spend or you take that money to the bank savings account. In bank savings account, your money might be eaten up in inflation. Watch out, look at the rate of inflation, and consider the returns, the interest rate that bank is going to give you on your savings money. It is a good place for saving money because the risk is somehow low, but it may eat up your money in form of inflation. Remember, the current inflation rate as I talk today is 7.66 in Kenya. And yet many savings accounts give interest at the rate of 1 to 2%. So the inflation rate might end up eating that savings, and it might not benefit you in the longer term. The second place where you can consider putting your savings money is fixed deposit account. Again, as savings account always do, the interest rate might be eaten up in inflation. Point number 3, money market funds. Money market funds, to me, is a very good place for keeping your money because they give return at a rate higher than the rate of inflation. The rate of return at money market funds is ranging between 8% and 10%. Point number 4, consider saving your money with SACCO societies, savings and credit cooperative societies. The advantage that SACCO societies have is that you might not easily access on your savings. Dividends are also given at the rate of 10% to 20%. Credits are even cheaper than when you go to borrow money with the banks. Credit terms are also flexible. And finally, I want us to stop there. And as we stop there, dear listener, I encourage you, please subscribe to this channel. Please like the channel and turn on the notification bell. Every time we upload a new video, YouTube is going to notify you and you're going to continue benefiting. As I say, this series will continue. We are going to cover another series in our next episode. In fact, in our next series, we are going to talk about debt management. Avoid liabilities, buy assets. We are going to explain what liabilities are, we are going to explain what assets are, and how to avoid debts and how to manage your debts. Otherwise, for today, I'm stopping there, dear listener, and I pray that may God bless you and may you prosper in Jesus' name. Amen.